All right, I've got my big bay door open and it's blowing in here. I've got my space heater on. I might have another allergy attack, but we're going to roll with it. So hopefully I can get through this video. All right, so there's a reason some people feel overwhelming and others feel impossible to define. Some people walk into your life and immediately feel intense, certain, heavy, and real. And others feel fluid, engaging, adaptive, and hard to pin down. At first glance, you might think one is too much, the other is not enough. But that's not what's actually happening. You are not looking at personality differences, you are looking at two completely different ways of stabilizing reality. One system stabilizes by holding pressure, storing experience, and enforcing truth. The other stabilizes by moving pressure, adjusting interaction, and maintaining balance. And the problem is they can look the same on the surface. They both read the room, track emotional shifts, respond to energy, and operate relationally. But underneath that, they are doing opposite things. One is asking, is this real? The other is asking, is this working? And if you don't understand that difference, you will misread everything. Attraction, or you will miss everything. Where I'm at. You will misread everything. Attraction, conflict, communication, and why these dynamics either become magnetic or completely disruptive. Man, I had a good song and now my playlist is being crazy. All right, so because this is not about compatibility, this is about how masculine and feminine energy is structured internally versus externally. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. I'm not sure if you can catch the vibe of which two archetypes I was talking about, but I definitely am getting ahead of myself in this video. I'm going to first go over Libra. So I'm going to pull up Libra's key card briefly so you know what you're getting yourself into. So this is Libra's key card for the entire personality. I combine astrology with psychology. So now also I've been doing this for a decade. So I am literally evolving my entire system and I'm adding in inner and outer masculine and feminine to these four quadrants of the archetypes. This is groundbreaking. I am so freaking excited, and I am literally going to get ahead of myself a little bit in this video because Libras are besides Aries, I would say Aries and Libras are in Pisces and Aquarius, but especially Libras, they understand people pretty well naturally, I would say. And so I am extremely deeply grateful for that, and so I'm certainly going to divulge more information of where I am taking this channel. So, like, I'm super excited. I'm going to be comparing first, I'm going to break down the inner and outer masculine and feminine for your archetype in depth. This is the video for that. I just did an introduction video on this yesterday. So start there and then come back to this video. And then I'm going to be comparing Libra and Scorpio. So I'm going to be doing this after I get this video series done, but like I have to do it now in this video because you understand. So if you can see Libra and Scorpio, which I've already done some videos about this, but it was literally just under the lens of astrology and psychology without the inner and outer masculine and feminine. I can't even explain how much more like understanding you get of people, especially like people during conflict. So, anyways, you can see that Libra and Scorpio both have any hero and SI inferior psychologically, okay? And you're noticing that Libra has Venus ruling, Scorpio has Mars ruling. Libra has the sun and fall, and Scorpio has the moon and fall. So it gets very confusing with masculine and feminine with Libra and Scorpio. On the outside, Libra, they both actually seem very feminine. When you first meet these personalities, they seem feminine overall. Now, I am combining the masculine through the feminine ranking system with my moral load bearing system. So I'm not only doing inner and outer masculine and feminine containment that deals with nervous system regulation, I'm also running this through masculine and feminine and moral load bearing axes. So Scorpio is a higher load bearer than Libra. And so that changes a lot about how their nervous systems regulate internally. So I know I'm jumping ahead here. I'm freaking beyond stoked and excited. So that's what we are getting into in this video. All right, so this is not just about compatibility. This is about how masculine and feminine energy is structured internally versus externally. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. So before we get too deep into this, let me introduce myself. I'm Heather with Underwater Panther. I don't just teach astrology the way you've seen it before. I don't teach personality the way it's usually explained. What I do is break down the internal architecture of human behavior, how masculine and feminine energy actually operates, not as concepts, but as real systems inside the nervous system. So I combine astrology, cognitive functions, and behavioral pattern recognition to map how people think, how they react, how they break, and how they evolve. Because what most people call personality is actually structure. And once you understand the structure, you stop taking things personally and start seeing what's actually happening underneath. All right, so today we're breaking down one of the most misunderstood systems or archetypes there is, Libra or the ENTP. So, Libra is one of the most misunderstood archetypes because from the outside, it looks like indecision, people pleasing, passivity, and avoidance. But that's not what is actually happening. So I'm actually going to bring your key card up and leave it up here for a while, just so you can kind of get the feel for it as I'm talking the introduction. Okay, I'm actually having a problem with I have a cover over my phone, and so like I've got to watch where I actually crop this. All right, so I'm just going to keep that there for a moment. Okay. So let me back up a little bit because, yeah. All right. So Libra is one of the most misunderstood archetypes because from the outside, it looks like indecision, people pleasing, passivity, and avoidance. But that's not what's actually happening. What you're seeing is a system that is constantly processing multiple realities at once. Libra doesn't struggle to choose because they're weak. They struggle to choose because they see too much. Too many perspectives, too many outcomes, too many ways something can go wrong. And without internal anchoring, nothing collapses into one reality. So that is the NE hero, multiple possibilities, multiple opportunities, multiple realities going forward. SI inferior is the lack of anchoring their own identity into themselves. So, how Libra actually works. Libra does not stabilize through identity. Libra stabilizes through interaction, perception, and balance. They don't ask, "Who am I?" They ask, "What is happening between us?" And that changes everything because identity is not the starting point, interaction is. So, Libra's survival order. So, we have a universal, oh, what do you call it? I'm been working for like 10 hours straight. Okay, so we have an integration order. So we should start with outer feminine, inner masculine, and then outer masculine. So it's perception, safety, truth, and expression. So Libras must learn to stabilize internally before engaging externally, defining truth before exploring possibilities, anchor identity before calibrating relationships. So when unintegrated, Libra falls into indecision, overperception, people pleasing, identity diffusion, and dependency on external validation. So the loop becomes they perceive everything, they adjust to everything, they lose themselves, they overthink, and then they collapse. So Libra explores possibility, Libra calibrates interaction, Libra balances relationships, Libra refines truth, and then they struggle with their identity. All right, so we are talking about the distortion path that Libra experiences. So they explore, calibrate, decide, and stabilize. Awareness comes through interaction. So they begin with perception, not certainty. They move through exploring possibilities, engaging with dynamics, and adjusting in real time. And only after all of that do they attempt to decide, which is why decision feels delayed because it is. All right, so I'm going to bring up the key card. This key card is massive. I tried to cut it down as much as I could, but it is what it is. I'm not going to edit this anymore. I am working on a master book for this series. It's probably going to be over 700 pages. So, yeah, it's a lot. This is extremely foundational. I am so freaking excited though. I cannot wait. Like I've got to get these foundational videos done and then I can start getting into like more relational dynamics. All right, so I think we're good to go. I might move this up. Never quite sure where to put this. All right, so hopefully I need to like adjust here. Okay. All right, so for healthy integration, I do not have that on the screen. Normally I have it at the bottom. I do not have enough room. So for healthy integration, we try to start with outer feminine, inner masculine, and then outer masculine. Like I was trying to say. So that's perception, safety, truth, expression. But for Libra's distortion path, they start with outer masculine, inner masculine, outer feminine, and then inner feminine. All right, so why do they do this? Because Libra does not usually distort by feeling first. Libra distorts by going outward first. They begin in outer masculine with NE, extroverted intuition, hero, and Venus, ruling Venus. They scan the room, explore possibilities, enter interaction, and start moving across perspectives. This is the first distortion layer because Libra over-engages the field before they have internal grounding. They perceive too much, keep too many options open, and stay in relational motion too long. So distortion begins as outer exploration without center. Then it moves into inner masculine with introverted thinking and Saturn in exaltation. After overperceiving, Libra starts internally justifying, analyzing, comparing, and trying to reason their way into clarity. This is where they overthink, split hairs, and mentally refine everything without actually choosing. So the second distortion is internal rationalization without embodiment. Then it drops into outer feminine with extroverted feeling and Mars in left field. Once the mind gets overloaded, Libra starts adjusting behavior in real time to keep the interaction workable. This is where people pleasing, tone management, emotional soothing, and reactive calibration kicks in. Instead of holding truth, they start managing the field. So the third distortion is relational adaptation at the cost of self. And then finally, it collapses into the inner feminine with introverted sensing, inferior, and sun and fall. So this is the breakdown point. After exploring, rationalizing, and adjusting too much, Libra loses internal anchoring. Now they no longer know what feels stable. what they actually want, or who they are outside the interaction. So the final distortion is identity, diffusion, and internal instability. All right, so I'm going to break this down. So Libra ENTP, relational calibration, distortion, order. So the nervous system first moves outward into possibility, then inward into analysis, then outward again into relational adjustment, and finally collapses inward through loss of self-grounding. So the outer masculine, any hero, and Venus scans possibilities, explores dynamics, enters the field through interaction, and keeps too many directions open. Inner masculine, TI parent, and Saturn overthinks, rationalizes, refines endlessly, and delays clarity through internal analysis. Outer feminine with Effie child and Mars adjusts emotionally, smooths tension, people pleases, and recalibrates behavior to preserve balance. And then the inner feminine with SI inferior and Sun and Fall loses internal reference, destabilizes identity, and collapses into confusion about what is actually stable or true for the self. So they perceive too much, think too much, adjust too much, and lose themselves. All right, so I exist through interaction. This is where Libra begins, not with identity, but with possibility inside relationship. So the outer masculine, any hero, and Venus. The relational field, navigation, not social behavior. So this quadrant is not being social. It is operating inside a constantly shifting relational field. What any is actually doing. So it's deeper than just possibilities. NE is not just scanning options, it is tracking unresolved trajectories. Every interaction contains multiple potential directions. So I'm actually going to make this key card a little bigger. I don't feel like it's big enough. That's why I keep scooting over. All right, hopefully everything is decently big enough. This is a constant thing. Okay. There we go. All right. Now I feel like it's good. All right. So what NE is actually doing. So it's deeper than just possibilities. NE is not just scanning options. It is tracking unresolved trajectories. Every interaction contains multiple potential directions, where this could go, how it could shift, how one statement changes the entire dynamic. Libra is not just aware of people. They are aware of what this interaction is becoming. So yes, any scans for patterns, shifts, potential directions, and what could happen next. Venus, it's not just harmony, but vector correction. Venus here is not passive balance. It is outer masculine. It's not passive. It's projecting outward. Great. I hope I don't lose my voice. All right, so Venus here is not passive balance. It is directional correction toward relational equilibrium. It constantly evaluates where tension is forming, where attraction is forming, where imbalance is growing, and then subtly shifts behavior to steer the interaction. Venus directs that scanning toward harmony, attraction, and balance. So Libra enters reality not to define it, but to read it, feel it, and move within it. What this looks like internally. This is not conscious most of the time. It feels like something is off here. This could go two different ways. I need to say this differently. Libra is adjusting before the imbalance fully forms. This feels like constant awareness, subtle adjustments, sensing shifts before they happen. So Libra is navigating reality while it's still forming. Distortion. So it's not just indecision. The real issue is not too many options. It's this: no internal filter for which option matters. So all possibilities carry equal weight. That creates delayed commitment, perpetual recalibration, and inability to collapse into one reality. So this becomes infinite adjustment without commitment. Because if everything is possible, nothing is chosen. So the consequence, Libra becomes a system that moves without ever landing. They are effective in motion, but unstable in position. So this quadrant gives Libra relational intelligence without directional authority. Libra is not indecisive. They are overloaded with valid options. All right, so that was the briefing. Now I'm going to go more in depth. All right, so relational field navigation, not social behavior. This quadrant is not about being social in the conventional sense. It is not about liking people, seeking attention, or even trying to connect. It is about operating inside a constantly shifting field of interaction where nothing is fixed and everything is in motion. Libra does not enter reality as a solid object. Libra enters reality as a sensing system, one that immediately begins mapping the invisible architecture between people, tone, timing, and direction. Any does not simply generate possibilities, it detects where reality has not yet settled. Every interaction contains multiple unresolved trajectories. What could be said next, how someone might respond, where tension could build, where attraction could form, and how quickly everything could change based on a single shift in tone or phrasing. Libra is not just watching people, they're watching the future of the interaction unfold in real time. Tracking branching pathways before they happen. Venus in this position does not soften this process, it sharpens it. It acts as a correction mechanism, constantly evaluating whether the trajectory of the interaction is moving toward cohesion or fragmentation. It is not asking, is this nice? It is asking, often unconsciously, is this sustainable? Is this balanced? Is this going to hold together or fall apart? And based on that evaluation, Libra subtly redirects through tone, word choice, humor, timing, or restraint. Internally, this does not feel like strategy. It feels like micro adjustments happening faster than conscious thought. A sentence is reworded mid speech, a reaction is softened, a joke is inserted to relieve pressure. A pause is extended to avoid escalation. Libra is constantly steering before instability becomes visible. They're correcting imbalance before it fully forms, which is why they often appear smooth, effortless, or naturally good with people. But the distortion is not simply indecision. The deeper issue is the absence of hierarchy between perceived options. All right, I don't know. I'm gonna have to move my phone. Like, I'm hotspotting my computer. I don't have the internet, and so like my computer's been glitching out. I'm not sure if it's memory. I'm not sure if it's internet. It's driving me absolutely crazy. So I do apologize. I just noticed I am still glitching. All right. So the distortion is not simply indecision. The deeper issue is the absence of hierarchy between perceived options. Because any reveals multiple viable trajectories and Venus seeks to preserve relational balance, Libra does not naturally rank which path is more true. Only which path is less disruptive. This creates a system where all options remain open and therefore none are fully chosen. Over time, this produces very specific consequence. Libra becomes highly effective in motion, but increasingly unstable in position. They can navigate almost any interaction, but struggle to land inside one reality long enough to define it. They move beautifully through the field, but do not anchor within it. This quadrant gives Libra something extremely powerful: the ability to read and adjust reality as it unfolds, but it withholds something equally critical: The authority to choose a direction and hold it. I feel like my eyeball's getting cut off. All right, so what is actually true? This is the hidden core of Libra, the part most people never see. So we're moving into the inner masculine with introverted thinking and Saturn in exaltation. Truth formation under pressure. This quadrant is not just logic, it is the only place Libra can create something stable. TI, internal consistency engine. TI does not care about agreement, harmony, or perception. It asks, does this hold up without anyone else involved? This is the first point where Libra separates from the field. TI asks, does this make sense independent of everything else? Saturn adds structure, consequence, and time. This is where Libra must stop adjusting and start defining. So Saturn, why this is exalted. Saturn forces consequence over preference. It introduces time pressure, structural reality, and long-term consistency. So Libra cannot just think, they must prove their thinking holds over time. Internal conflict. So this is the real tension. NE and Venus says adjust to maintain flow or keep it open. TI and Saturn says close it and decide. Stop and define what is actually true. This creates a fracture, flow versus structure and truth. So the real distortion is withholding decisions until they are perfect because Saturn demands certainty and NE never stops generating alternatives. So Libra gets stuck in permanent refinement without execution. Libra waits for perfect clarity, which never comes, so they stay in refinement without execution. All right, so they may appear intelligent, thoughtful, and precise, but internally, nothing is finalized. So this quadrant is Libra's only access to authority. Without it, they remain adaptive and not defined. All right, I need a drink break already. All right, truth formation under pressure. So I just did briefings and I'm going to get into it a little bit deeper. So I worked on the structure of this presentation as much as I could. I'm running out of time, so it is what it is. I do apologize. I work a full shift and then I literally work another full shift getting these presentations ready. I am trying so hard to get through these foundational videos with the inner and outer masculine and feminine because I'm so excited with what is coming, and you will understand where this is going after I get through these quadrants. So, truth formation under pressure. This is the first place in Libra's system where movement slows down and something begins to solidify. Unlike the outer layer, which adapts to the environment, this quadrant turns inward and attempts to construct something that does not depend on the environment at all. TI is not interested in harmony, agreement, or perception. It strips those away. It asks a far more isolating question. If no one else existed, would this still make sense? This is where Libra begins to separate from the relational field and encounters something unfamiliar, independent evaluation. Saturn intensifies this process by introducing consequence. It does not allow loose reasoning or temporary conclusions. It demands that what is constructed internally can withstand time, pressure, and contradiction. It forces Libra to confront whether their thinking is consistent, not just momentarily convincing. And this is honestly why I absolutely, Aries and Libras are my absolute favorite personality types. I just love TI, introverted thinking. It is independent thinking. They're still open-minded, abstract, intellectual. Like and SI, although it is in the inferior position, Libras have one of the most amazing minds because they have long-term memory. Like they have a huge storage of long-term memory in their minds, and it's absolutely amazing. I highly regard Libra's intellectualism. Thank you for being you. That's all I gotta say. I wish I had your guys' memory. I do have your abstraction and intellectualism. I don't have the relational thing, going for me. I'm more structural and systematic, systems based, informational based. But yeah, your minds are like amazing. All right, so this creates a deep internal tension that is often invisible externally. Because while NE and Venus are continuously adapting to maintain flow, TI and Saturn are trying to stop the system and define what is actually true. One side is fluid, the other side is rigid. One side says keep adjusting, the other says choose and hold. This is where Libra begins to feel internal friction. The distortion here is not simply overthinking, it is withholding commitment until all variables are resolved, which never happens. Saturn raises the standard of certainty while NE keeps generating new variables. So Libra becomes trapped in a loop of refinement, constantly improving their understanding without ever allowing it to finalize. All right, so this quadrant is critical because it represents Libra's only access point to true authority. This is their inner masculine, their inner authority. Internally, it feels like nothing ever fully locks into place. Every conclusion remains slightly open, slightly adjustable, and slightly unfinished. This quadrant is critical, though, because it represents their authority, not social authority, not relational influence, but internal authority. The ability to say this is what is true regardless of what anyone else thinks or feels. Without this, Libra remains in adaptation mode, responsive, perceptive, and fluid, but never fully defined. All right, so let's feel this in real time. This is where Libra becomes active in relationships with the outer feminine, with extroverted feeling, FE, and Mars in left field. Emotional feedback loop in motion. This is not being emotional. This is testing reality through emotional response. So FE is their real-time mirroring system. FE is not they say it's empathy, FI is sympathy, but it's not empathy in the soft sense. It is synchronization. It aligns Libra to tone, emotional rhythm, and relational pacing. So yes, FE reads emotional tone, connection levels, and subtle reactions. Mars introduces movement under tension. So instead of sitting with emotion, Libra acts through it. Mars pushes movement, engagement, and response. So Libra interacts, adjusts, responds, and recalibrates constantly. What this creates is a loop: emotion, response, adjustment, new emotion. Libra is constantly updating based on feedback. Emotion is not processed internally first, it is experienced through interaction. So the real distortion is emotional outsourcing of decision making. Instead of asking, what do I think? They ask, what maintains connection? So the consequence here is boundaries become inconsistent, reactions replace decisions, identity shifts based on response. They are no longer interacting, they're being shaped in real time. So this quadrant makes Libra socially effective, but internally permeable. So this quadrant is where Libra interacts with emotion, not as something to process internally, but as something to engage with dynamically. It is not about feeling deeply in isolation. It is about using emotion as a real-time feedback system that informs how interaction is unfolding. FE operates as synchronization mechanism. It aligns Libra with the emotional rhythm of the environment. Tone, expression, subtle cues, and shifts in energy. It is constantly updating. Are we connected? Are we aligned? Is something off? But it does not stop there. Mars adds activation. It turns emotional awareness into movement. Instead of observing discomfort, Libra responds to it. Instead of sitting in tension, they adjust behavior to resolve it. Emotion becomes something that is acted through, not held within. So, where was I at? The system is always updating, always adjusting, and always moving towards equilibrium. At its best, this creates incredible relational intelligence. Libra can de escalate conflict, maintain connection, and create a sense of ease between people who might otherwise clash. They can read what is needed emotionally and respond in a way that keeps interaction flowing. But the distortion is deeper than people pleasing. The real distortion is their decisions become emotionally outsourced. So instead of asking, what do I think is right? Libra begins asking, what maintains connection right now? The reference point shifts from internal truth to external response. Over time, this erodes boundaries. Reactions begin replacing decisions. Identity becomes flexible to the point of instability. Libra is no longer just interacting, they're being shaped by the interaction itself. So they struggle to maintain a consistent sense of self while they are doing that. So next, the question is, who am I without reflection? This is the hardest layer and the most important. The inner feminine with SI, introverted sensing, and sun and fall. The absence of internal reference. This is not just the weakest function. This is the missing anchor of the entire system. SI, what it should do. SI creates continuity of self across time. It answers what has been consistent, what is reliable, what defines me over time. SI asks what is stable and what repeats over time. But in Libra, this is weak, and with the sun in fall, identity is not internally anchored. So the sun should provide identity center, but in Libra, identity is not self-generated. It is reflected. So what this feels like internally, not confusion, something more specific. Lack of internal reference point. They don't just question identity, they lack the structure to hold identity without interaction. So this feels like I understand myself through others. I don't fully know who I am alone. I shift depending on the environment. So the real issue is identity never fully formed independently. So when interaction is removed, there is nothing stable underneath, which causes identity diffusion, losing self in relationships, adapting too much, and lack of internal grounding. So the consequence is reliance on relational mirrors, difficulty making isolated decisions, instability during separation or conflict. So this quadrant explains everything. Libra is not losing self. They were never fully anchored in it. All right, so the distortion loop. Perceive everything, adjust to everything, lose internal reference, overthink every option, avoid decision, feel instability, seek more interaction, and then repeat. So this doesn't feel like confusion. It feels like I see every side of this. I don't want to choose wrong. If I pick one, I lose the others. I just need more clarity first. But the clarity never arrives because Libra is waiting for external resolution. So to solve this, they need to solve an internal absence. Excuse me. So the real problem is Libra is trying to feel certain before deciding, but certainty is not something Libra receives. It is something Libra must create. Eventually, this loop creates decision fatigue, emotional exhaustion, relational instability, and identity confusion. And Libra hits a moment where everything feels like too much and not enough at the same time. So absence of internal reference. I need another drink. My allergies have been really bad this year. All right, so the integration what actually has to happen. All right, so going back to the outer feminine, inner masculine, outer masculine. So the real work is not conceptual, it is behavioral and uncomfortable. Libra must first interrupt the emotional feedback loop. They have to stop immediately adjusting to every shift in the environment. This creates space that initially feels like tension, awkwardness, or disconnection. Then they must build internal continuity. This means defining identity without using other people as a mirror. It means sitting alone with decisions, preferences, and values long enough for them to stabilize internally. Only after that can TI and Saturn fully activate, locking in truth that does not depend on agreement or validation. This is where Libra develops internal authority, and only then can they return to the outer world, engaging with any in Venus not as someone being shaped by the environment, but as someone who can move through it without losing position. So what integration actually feels like? It does not feel like balance. It feels like holding tension without fixing it. It feels like not responding immediately, letting things be unresolved, making decisions others may not agree with, and maintaining identity even when it disrupts harmony. For Libra, this feels unnatural, but it is necessary. So Libra is not confused. Libra is operating exactly as designed, a system built to read, adjust, and harmonize interaction. Both without internal anchoring, the same system becomes over responsive to everything around it. They see more than most people. They understand more than most people. They adapt faster than most people. But without grounding, they cannot hold a position long enough to define themselves. All right, so now I'm going to get into a little bit about Libra males versus Libra females, and then I want to get into explaining Scorpio versus Libra. That is going to be extremely entertaining. My father is a Scorpio, my grandfather is a Libra, and they farmed together for many years. My grandfather no longer, well, actually, he just got into farming again about 3 or 4 years ago. Anyways, they have entirely different managing, like, I don't even want to get into it. Like, it's fascinating. Scorpios versus Libras. Oh my gosh, they are very different creatures. All right, so Libra men often appear socially fluid, adaptable, easy to connect with, and conversationally sharp. But underneath that, there's often hesitation around firm direction. So the internal state, what's the best move here? How will this affect everything else? Is this the right decision? So instead, oh, so instead of, where am I at? So instead of choosing quickly, they evaluate longer. So distorted Libra man avoids hard decisions, delays commitment, adapts to others instead of leading, and struggles with consistent direction. An integrated Libra man is socially aware but internally grounded, decisive without being rigid, leads through clarity, not control, balances connection with self-definition. Libra women often appear emotionally intelligent, relationally aware, socially magnetic, and deeply attuned, but internally there is often identity fluidity. So, the internal state, who am I in this dynamic? What's the emotional tone here? How do I maintain this connection? Distortion in Libra women, people pleasing patterns, identity shifting in relationships, over prioritizing harmony, and difficulty asserting truth. An integrated Libra woman, Emotionally aware but self-anchored, relational without dependency, expresses truth without collapsing connection, and holds identity within interaction. So the real work, this is where Libra becomes powerful and it doesn't look like what people expect. Integration is not being more social, being more balanced, being better with people. It is learning to stand still inside yourself. What Libra must learn. Libra must learn to sit in tension without fixing it, allow imbalance without reacting to it, make decisions without full agreement, and hold truth even when it disrupts harmony. So the shift, before what keeps this working, after what is true, even if this stops working. This is where Libra stops being adaptive and becomes defined. So the hard truth, Libra will always feel the pull to adjust. That never goes away. But integration means they don't obey it automatically. So Libra is a system designed to perceive, interpret, and balance reality through interaction. They can understand everyone, read every situation, and navigate any dynamic. But the real question is, can they stand still long enough to define themselves? Because at the deepest level, Libra is not struggling with people. They are struggling with self-definition without reflection. All right, so now I want to get into Scorpio versus Libra. I just got a notification on my phone. All right, so what am I at? An hour. I should make this into its whole video, but this is like seriously fascinating to me. Like I'm just going to keep circling around and around and around, and eventually I'm going to be a lot better at presenting this information. The amount of like information I've been researching and sifting through is absolutely crazy. You gotta start somewhere. All right. All right, Libra and Scorpio. All right, so there are two types of people who walk into a room. One scans the energy and thinks, something feels off, who can I trust? The other scans their same room and thinks, something feels off, how do I balance this? They look the same, they both pause, they both observe, they both feel something immediately. They both appear emotionally aware, perceptive, relational, and feminine. But what they're doing internally is completely different. One is preparing for threat, the other is preparing for adjustment. And if you don't understand the difference, you will misread both of them because both of them on the surface look feminine. They look receptive, they look emotional, they look relational. But underneath that, they operate in completely opposite ways. One of them is carrying pressure internally, storing truth, and protecting it at all costs. The other is moving through pressure externally, adjusting reality, and maintaining balance at all costs. And when these two meet in relationships, it doesn't create harmony, it creates tension, confusion, attraction, and eventually collapse because they are not playing the same game. Scorpio is asking, is this real? Libra is asking, is this working? And those are not the same questions. All right. So to understand this properly, you have to remove personality. This is not about nice or intense. This is about how each system processes pressure. So I am going to actually bring up my moral load key card briefly so you can understand. Where is it at? Okay. So let me bring up my key card and make it a little bit smaller now since I'm not overloading you with Libra's inner and outer masculine feminine information. Okay. All right. So overall, as a whole archetype, Scorpio is number 7 masculine and Libra is number 10. So Libra feels more feminine than Scorpio when you first meet them. All right. So, but with the moral load ranking system, Scorpio is number 2. So, Scorpio holds a lot of structure under pressure. Libra, on the other hand, is number 9 in the moral load ranking system. So, they have 2 different nervous system styles. I've already explained this in depth in other ones. So, Scorpio has a retention nervous system. They keep weight, they carry after the moment ends, they replay, they store, they feel implicated even when no one assigns blame. So, they are the stabilizers, the conscience carriers, the emotional infrastructure, the accountability anchors. Libra, on the other hand, has a motion nervous system. They move energy, they discharge, they reframe, they pivot. So their system, they're initiators, disruptors, storytellers, explorers, identity movers, and belief carriers. So they are operating very differently when it comes to moral load ranking. So this is about how each system processes pressure. Scorpio is a high load archetype. That means they store emotional weight, they carry memory, they internalize experience, they build truth through pressure. Libra is a low load archetype. That means they move pressure, they adjust dynamically, they regulate through interaction, they stabilize through balance. So when something goes wrong in a relationship, Scorpio asks, what is the truth of this? Libra asks, how do we fix this dynamic? All right. I'm going to feel so much better when I get this out of my system. So Scorpio and Libra are both labeled as feminine archetypes. Now, psychologically, C.S. Joseph would argue my butt off with this. I'm waiting for it. I am totally prepared already. If he wants to have this conversation, I would absolutely love to. I studied his work for many years. I'm talking like 6 years. I studied his entire system. I've watched every single video. And I just disagree. So, to me, Libras and Scorpios initially come off feminine, but I mean 85% of my personality is Capricorn or ISTJ. That's a whole different video in itself that I've already made. So I'm an Aries rising, I'm an Aquarius INTJ mind. So most of my personality is high ranking masculine. So I can really pick up on the feminine energy, and I love both of these archetypes for their feminine energy. It's just a lot different than my own. So, people say they're emotional, they're relational, they're intuitive, but that's not the full truth because Scorpio is not soft and Libra is not stable. Both of them are using feminine energies in ways that are often misunderstood, mislabeled, and completely reversed. So if you don't understand anything else, understand this. Scorpio stabilizes through internal control of threat. Libra stabilizes through external calibration of interaction. Scorpio is asking, am I safe? Libra is asking, is this balance? So Scorpio and Libra confuse people for the same reason. They both look feminine. They both read the room, track emotional dynamics, respond to energy, and operate relationally. So people assume these are soft, receptive feminine archetypes, but that assumption is wrong because Scorpio's femininity is internal and defensive. Libra's femininity is external and adaptive. And these are not the same thing. Now, I just remembered I was supposed to airdrop myself. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can airdrop I just made another key card. Okay, which one is it? Here it is. I was supposed to actually airdrop this to myself so I could pull it up on screen. I might not be able to do so, but this will help a lot throughout the rest of this video. Let me try to email it to myself real quick. I really need to get the internet. This is just a problem. All right, so I'm just going to email it to myself, grab it, and then see if I can get that on screen. Because it actually will help quite a bit throughout this video. I totally forgot that that didn't go through. Did it go through? Oh, there it is. Okay. All right, let me grab this image, and then I'm going to have to actually window capture it. All right, let me see how I can do this. My computer's probably going to be glitching until I actually get it. Okay, where is it? Might be this one. Okay, there it is. All right. Give me a moment. I know this is absolute chaos. Absolute chaos happening right now. Totally worth it. I have no idea where that screen capture. Oh, there. Oops, I just clicked the wrong button. Absolute chaos. Scorpio and Libras are both okay with chaos, though. More so than me, but hey. I'm trying to embody your energy. All right. I'm not sure if you're going to even be able to see this. Okay. I really hope that's big enough. All right. All right, I got to bring up my notes. Okay, there, we got it. All right, everything's cool. Okay, so let me back up just a little bit. All right, so Scorpio's femininity is internal and defensive. Libra's femininity is external and adaptive. So those are not the same thing. So let me bring up my own key card. So I will be more organized in the following videos. This is just a bonus. Like I've already gone over what I wanted to. The inner and outer masculine and feminine with Libra. I should make this its own video. But I just really wanted to add this in here because it is so fascinating. And this is where I'm taking my channel. All right, where's Libra? Okay, Libra. Okay. So the inner feminine war, where the relationship is actually decided. So this is very, very deep. Most people never see this. So Scorpio outer masculine is TE, Venus, and Earth, fueled by SI inferior and moon and fall. Scorpio's outer masculine does not come from confidence. It comes from containment failure under emotional pressure. So what SI inferior and moon and fall actually does. Scorpio does not have stable internal sensory safety. SI inferior means inconsistent internal grounding. The moon and fall means emotion is intense but not easily soothed or regulated. So what happens? Emotion builds but does not settle. Memory forms but does not stabilize. Experience registers but does not feel safe. So the internal state for Scorpio, this creates a very specific internal condition, high emotional intensity and low internal containment. They feel deeply, but they do not feel safe inside what they feel. So the quotation with SI and Moon, I remember everything that mattered. Scorpio does not experience emotion lightly. They imprint it. Every betrayal, every shift in tone, every moment something fell off gets stored, not just remembered. Felt again. So when something happens in the present, Scorpio is not reacting to now. They are reacting to patterns across time. I want to go into a personal explanation, but I'm not going to. So anyways, I've been dealing with the wrath of a Scorpio. Holy moly. All right. So what happens next? When the internal system cannot contain emotion, it has to go somewhere. So Scorpio does not release it randomly. They convert it into external control. So my fascination is with how Libra and Scorpio both have any hero and SI inferior. Now, the masculine and the feminine of Libra and Scorpio are something I've sat on. I've been working on this series for a month now. And Scorpio and Libra are probably the most confused archetypes when it comes to masculine and feminine energies within themselves. So I'm going to make probably many more videos on this. It's just, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. All right. So, what happens next? When the internal system cannot contain emotion, it has to go somewhere. So, Scorpio does not release it randomly, they convert it into external control. How this fuels TE Venus and Earth for Scorpio. TE becomes enforcement of reality. Venus becomes protection of what is valued. Earth becomes tangible consequence. So when Scorpio feels overwhelmed internally, they respond with precision externally. They define what is right and wrong, cut off what is unsafe, enforce consequences, and restructure the environment. So this is their scorched earth because it is not negotiation. It is stabilization through elimination. Anything that threatens internal instability is removed externally, even if that means destroying the relationship. So, what others feel from this? People don't just feel Scorpio as intense. They feel finality, decisiveness, emotional weight behind action. There is no coming back from this because Scorpio is not just acting, they are discharging stored emotional instability through decisive action. So, Scorpio's outer masculine is not dominance, it is emotional survival through control. Boom, mic drop. All right, so Libra, SI inferior, and Sun and Fall. I don't fully know who I am without you. Libra does not have that same internal anchor. Their identity is not stabilized internally. It is reflected through interaction. So instead of memory-based certainty, they have relational-based awareness. Scorpio says, I know what this is. Libra says, let's figure out what this is. Scorpio becomes more certain. Libra becomes more adaptive. All right, so I'm going to feather that out. I should have organized this a little bit differently. This is just trial and error right now. So outer expression war. So Scorpio with TE, Venus, and Earth. So when you're like arguing with somebody, you're really dealing with the child and inferior cognitive functions. Like when you are really in the depths of like clashing with somebody, it's your child and inferior. So that is what I'm talking about right now because I'm like, what the hell is fueling Scorpio's scorched earth? It is so just I'm an Aquarian mind, so I am more about logic than emotion, and it's extremely difficult to deal with. I have receipts, I have facts, I have stacks of papers, like, don't argue with me when you're emotional. Like, I will create a presentation like I'm doing now because it's ridiculous. Libras, on the other hand, I've never dealt with a Libra romantically. But I know that, my grandfather's a Libra and he runs multiple businesses, hardcore entrepreneur. And I can see how he falters, unlike a Scorpio. He will believe anyone's sob story and he doesn't go scorched earth. He ends up taking the loss. He takes the hit, unlike Scorpio. So it's fascinating. So Scorpio, TE, Venus, and Earth. If this is wrong, I will end it. This is where Scorpio becomes dangerous because they don't just feel, they enforce. When something violates their internal truth, they don't debate. They cut access, withdraw emotionally, expose truth, and enforce consequences. So that's their scorched earth. Because Scorpio would rather destroy the connection than live inside something false based on what they perceive, based on their feelings. Libra, Fe, Mars. So you've got Fe, child, and Mars. Here they're saying, let's fix this before it breaks. Libra doesn't enforce, they engage. They try to smooth tension, adjust tone, reconnect emotionally, Keep the interaction alive, even when something is wrong, especially when something is wrong. So Scorpio is saying if this is broken, it ends. Libra is saying if this is breaking, we fix it. Scorpio moves towards truth enforcement, and Libra moves towards connection preservation. So they are pulling in opposite directions. All right, so outer feminine FE Mars for Libra, fueled by SI inferior and sun and fall. So Libra's expression is the opposite. They do not enforce outwardly, they adjust outwardly. But the fuel is still unstable. Eventually I'm going to make key cards. I don't know how, you know what? Actually, I have I just came up with an idea. So I made these key cards, the Astro-Psychological key cards, like 9 years ago or so. And I just thought of how to do this. I was going to create entire different key cards, but you know what? Instead of that, I am going to mark each quadrant with, like, for example, Libra, their outer feminine is FE child and Mars. I'm just gonna put OF, outer feminine. So yeah, all right, cool. I'm literally gonna do that this weekend. I keep forgetting and I have to keep like referring to my key cards, and that will just like, you know what I mean? Like I can look at it and be like, oh, inner masculine, I am, outer feminine, OF. Bam. I got it. Yes, awesome. I totally don't ever rift or whatever you want to call it, like off the cuff. I'm extremely like structured and organized, but I feel totally comfortable with you guys because you understand better than most. So thank you for hanging in there. If you're still hanging in there, I appreciate you more than I can ever express. All right. So Libra, outer feminine, FE, extroverted feeling, child, and Mars, fueled by SI inferior and sun and fall. So Libra's expression is the opposite. They do not enforce outwardly, they adjust outwardly. But the fuel is still unstable. What SI inferior and sun and fall does. Libra does not have stable internal identity. SI inferior creates weak internal continuity. Sun and fall creates identity that is not self anchored. So instead of I know who I am, Libra experiences I become who I am through interaction. So the internal state, this creates low internal definition and high external awareness. They're extremely aware of others, dynamics, and emotional tone, but internally they are not fixed. So what happens next? Because identity is not anchored, Libra cannot stabilize internally. So they stabilize through external relational alignment. How this fuels FE and Mars. FE becomes emotional attunement, Mars becomes movement and response. So Libra engages, adjusts, responds, and recalibrates constantly. So why it feels softer but still unstable. Because Libra is not eliminating instability, they are absorbing and redistributing it. They don't break the connection, they reshape themselves inside of it. What others feel from this. People don't feel Libra is weak. They feel fluid, adaptive, emotionally responsive, hard to pin down, and inconsistent under pressure because Libra is not holding position. They're moving with the interaction instead of defining it. So Libra's outer feminine is not softness, it is identity instability managed through relational adjustment. So the real comparison. Scorpio, SI inferior, and moon and fall. I see, and now I'm already forgetting. I got to keep adjusting my. I'm literally this weekend. I am going to put all of the uh inner and outer masculine and feminine in each quadrant, so I don't have to keep referring to my key card that is like miles long now. Okay. So Scorpio, SI inferior, and moon and fall is their inner feminine. So it's unstable emotional containment, leads to external control. Result over containment externally, under containment internally. They feel too much inside, so they must control outside. So Libra, SI inferior, and Sun in fall. So this is their inner feminine. Unstable identity containment leads to external adaptation. The result is under containment internally and over adaptation externally. They feel not enough inside, so they must adjust outside. So, how this imbalances masculine and feminine. Scorpio, feminine, internal, overloaded, unstable, and intense. Masculine, external, rigid, controlled, and final. So the system becomes hard outside and volatile inside. Libra, feminine, internal, undefined, unstable, and anchored. Masculine, external expression through Fe and Mars. The masculine, external. Jeez, I can't. So much information. So that's any hero in Venus, sorry. So reactive, adaptive, and fluid. So the system becomes soft outside and unanchored inside. So how this is felt in relationships. Being with Scorpio feels like I need to be careful. This matters more than I expected. If I cross a line, it's over. They feel everything and act on it. Being with Libra feels like this is easy but unclear. They're with me, but I don't know where I stand. Things keep shifting. I feel connected but not grounded. So Scorpio cannot tolerate internal instability, so they eliminate it externally. Libra cannot stabilize internally, so they manage it relationally. Scorpio controls the environment to contain what they feel. Libra adjusts to the environment to define who they are. Y'all, I know this is so like unorganized and crazy, but I just give me another year. Give me another year doing these presentations. I cannot even wait. All right, so where was I? So why this relationship becomes addictive and destructive. So Libra senses imbalance and starts adjusting. Scorpio senses inconsistency and loses trust. Scorpio enforces truth and becomes intense, cutting, and confrontational. Libra destabilizes and tries harder to fix it. Scorpio reads that as inauthentic and escalates further, and Libra adapts even more and loses self. Yeah, it's that deep. So, male versus female expression. Scorpio men lead with control, enforce boundaries, test loyalty, withdrawal when trust breaks. But underneath, extreme emotional sensitivity. They will never admit it. Never, never, never admit it. I see right through that. And it's just so. I'm sorry. I cannot. I cannot. All right. Scorpio women feel everything first, test emotional depth, protect through intensity, and require truth to feel safe. Libra men engage socially, adapt quickly, avoid hard conflict, and struggle with firm identity. Libra women, highly relational, emotionally responsive, connection focused, and identity shifts through interaction. All right, Scorpio integrates by softening enforcement, allowing imperfection, not assuming threat immediately. Libra integrates by developing internal identity, making decisions without consensus, and tolerating relational tension. So Scorpio protects truth even if it destroys connection. Libra protects connection even if it destabilizes truth. All right, so let's talk about a real life case study. Should I leave that up there? Oh, yeah. That's why I even put that on there, because that's showing you the inner and outer masculine and feminine, I think. I can't remember. It's been such a long night. I apologize. Holy crud muffins. Oh my gosh. That was my first attempt. You might not even understand what I'm saying. That's the distortion path. Yeah, you're probably not even going to understand that key card. Literally, I figured it out. I was going to make completely different key cards, but I totally figured out what I'm going to do. Totally figured it out. So, outer masculine, I'm going to write OM, inner masculine, IM, outer feminine, OF, inner feminine, IF. On each quadrant, bam, done. Easy peasy. All right, I figured it out, y'all. Thanks for hanging in there. All right. So let's do a real life case study. Same situation, two completely different systems. So let's say both of them walk into a friend group where something feels off. Scorpio's response. Hey, we got geomagnetic activity. Active geomagnetic. It disappeared. All right. Yes, I have notifications that, tell me what's going on in the astrosphere. All right, so Scorpio response. They feel it instantly, not lightly, deeply. Their body reacts first. They start tracking who shifted tone, who avoided eye contact, what felt different from last time. They don't speak yet. They watch, they store, they calculate. What changed? Who caused it? Is this safe? Libra response. They feel it too, but instead of going inward, they move outward. They start talking, joking, adjusting tone, and asking questions. They're not trying to identify threat, they're trying to rebalance the room. Same awareness, different purpose. Scorpio detects danger, Libra detects imbalance. Scorpio is asking, am I safe? Who can I trust? Libra is asking, is this balanced? How do I adjust this? Scorpio is trying to survive the environment. Libra is trying to optimize the environment. If you hear any of this information anywhere else, please let me know. Please let me know. I am not bouncing any of this information off of anyone. Like, literally, I don't know anyone. Like, eventually, my goal is to attract, the people that I like highly admire and have conversations. Like, that is my ultimate, create a community, obviously, but, like, I'm trying to absolutely master this, all the personalities, like, all of this stuff, masculine, feminine, polarity, you name it, developmental arc across your lifetime. I'm absolutely going to be doing this for as long as I live. All right, so why they get confused. From the outside, both look like socially aware, emotionally intelligent, and perceptive. So people assume they're similar, but internally, they're running completely different programs. So both of these archetypes are highly perceptive. They both read subtle cues, notice shifts in tone, track behavior patterns, respond to relational energy to the outside world that does look feminine. But Scorpio's perception is heavy, memory based, hello, moon, and fall, and emotionally charged. Libra's perception is light, possibility based, and socially adaptive. One is storing, one is scanning, one is protecting, one is adjusting. So the feminine illusion, this is where the illusion breaks, because what people call feminine in both of these archetypes is not the same thing at all. Scorpio's feminine energy is containment, depth, emotional storage, and protection. Libra's feminine energy is responsiveness, adaptability, relational flow, and real-time adjustment. So even though both look feminine, Scorpio is internally structured and Libra is externally fluid. All right, so I want to talk about the childhood pattern. So, Scorpio, childhood pattern. Scorpio often develops in environments. So, we are really hammering on the inferior where their deepest layers of instability, insecurity. Like, where is this coming from? Like, I just want to get to the absolute depths of sourcing what is going on. Scorpio often develops in environments where trust is broken early, emotional intensity is high, unpredictability exists. So the nervous system learns I have to feel everything before it hits me again. So, story example, a child notices tone shifts in parents, tension before conflict, and emotional withdrawal. They learn if I feel it early, I can protect myself. That becomes their baseline. So, inner feminine dominance. Let me move back up on my key card here. I'm glad I did this video on the fly because now I totally know how to fix this, like, fix my key cards with the inner and outer masculine, feminine. All right, so they don't start with logic or interaction. Oops, where was I? So inner feminine dominance. So inner feminine for Scorpio is SI and moon and fall. So that is the nervous system storage of betrayal, safety, calibration, feel deeply first, learn the world is dangerous. So they don't start with a logic or interaction. They start with emotional imprinting and feeling, and not light feeling, deep imprinting, nervous system level feeling. They store betrayal, emotional intensity, safety patterns, and threat signals. Their system learns early the world is not safe, and because of that, they don't move outward first. They move inward. They remember how things felt, who hurt them, what patterns repeat. This creates depth, intensity, and accuracy, but also weight. So the inner masculine with FI and Uranus. After feeling comes the decision or internal authority. So this is Scorpio's distortion order. After feeling comes the decision or internal authority. They decide who gets access, who is cut off, what is allowed, what is not. This is where Scorpio becomes internally masculine. They don't negotiate identity, they enforce it. They build boundaries, internal rules, and access, access control. They don't negotiate identity, they lock it. So, outer masculine. TE, Venus, and Earth. So when crossed, they move outward. And this is where people misunderstand Scorpio the most. They act, not emotionally or soft, decisively, but underneath it's emotional. They enforce consequences, boundaries, truth, and access. They will cut people off, expose behavior, remove access permanently. Love becomes conditional. It hurts so much. Like, I don't know anything that hurts more than this position and when this is going on. Like, I don't want to get personal, but it is just hellfire, like literal hellfire. So they will cut people off, expose behavior, remove access permanently. Love becomes conditional. That hurts my Pisces Venus so much. Truth becomes a weapon and they don't look back. So I am ruled. I have a Pisces. I don't tell people this, but I try not to. You could probably sense it in me. I'm a Pisces sun, a Pisces Venus, and Pisces North Node. So my true loving nature is also ruled by Venus in a different way, but Venus is Venus. All right, so outer feminine, perception. Outer feminine with any and Pluto and Mars. NE, where are we at? So yeah, okay, so that quadrant for Scorpio is the outer feminine, NE, Pluto, and Mars. Perception. Even their outer feminine is intense for Scorpio. Their awareness is not neutral. Their perception is already charged. They walk into environments already scanning for tension, motives, manipulation, power dynamics, and hidden intentions, not lightly, immediately. So Scorpio summary. Scorpio feels first, hardens second, controls third, and acts last. They carry emotional and psychological weight. They do not lose themselves, they protect themselves. So Libra childhood pattern. Libra begins outside. Let me shift to my key card. Where's it at? All right. Because I love y'all, I'm going to actually bring this up on screen. I know this is so much information to take in. It's insane. I will definitely be getting better at this as I go on. All right, because I love y'all so much. Hopefully you can read that. Okay, so Libra. So childhood pattern. Libra begins outside, not inside. They walk into a room and immediately scan. They look for dynamics, tone, imbalance, and possibilities. They don't ask, am I safe? They ask, what is happening here? Libra often develops in environments where harmony matters, conflict is uncomfortable, relationships define safety. So they learn, if I keep things balanced, everything stays okay. So, story example: a child notices arguments cause instability, tension disrupts connection, approval restores peace. They learn, I can fix this. So, the outer masculine exploration: they start outside, they read the room, adjust tone, test interactions, they move through possibility. Okay. I'm having conflicting information here. Hold on a second. You know what? All right. Why am I having conflicting information? Okay, where are we at? Libra, NE. Okay, so this can be conflicting. It depends on what system you're looking at. I am constantly cross-referencing systems. Okay, so let me explain this. Because I am kind of having a conflict, but not really. And I always sit here and just like go back and forth. You probably understand that. So, okay. So, distortion through psychology. Normally, if you see the hero, parent, child, inferior. So, normally, the hero, you are working on the hero function ages 1 through 12, parent 12 through 20, child 20 through 30 or 35, and inferior that starts kicking in at 35. Now, normally we develop the hero and child first. They are, do you see the plus sign? That means that they are positive. We have more like mental and emotional energy to use those cognitive functions. They're optimistic. Now, the negative, you can see it's TI parent and SI inferior. Those cost more energy mentally, emotionally to use. So we tend to want to avoid those cognitive functions. So in this case, we are moving into outer feminine. If you look on the key card, it'll say inner masculine. So I know that can be conflicting, but that is the reason. So outer feminine engagement, then they engage emotionally for Libra through interaction. They mirror, respond, adapt, talk, adjust, respond, mirror. They test the environment in real time. Emotion becomes interactive. So inner masculine is normally delayed. So delayed truth. Only later after interaction do they define or ask what's actually true. This is why Libra often feels delayed, indecisive, and uncertain because truth comes after experience. This creates indecision, overthinking, and delayed clarity. And then comes inner feminine with SI inferior and sun and fall. This is where Libra struggles the most, internal anchoring. They often feel, I don't know who I am without interaction. When disconnected from others, they feel lost because identity is externally formed. So Libra explores first, adjusts second, defines third, and stabilizes last. They do not carry the load, they move within it. So direct comparison: Scorpio, internal to external, safety, control, action. Libra, external to internal, interaction, adjustment, understanding. Scorpio is heavy, anchored, and protective. Libra is fluid, adaptive, and responsive. So Libra versus Scorpio in relationship when conflict happens. So Scorpio withdraws, analyzes, and questions trust. What does this mean? Libra engages, talks, tries to smooth. How do we fix this? So the result: Scorpio sees Libra as fake and inconsistent. FI users always look at FE users like they're fake, because they're more people pleasing. Yeah, it's just a thing. So Libra sees Scorpio as intense and rigid. So reality, they are opposite distortions. Scorpio is over anchored in self. Libra is under anchored in self. So Scorpio must learn to trust without control and connection without armor. Libra must learn identity without reflection and decisions without agreement. So Scorpio asks, can I trust you enough to let you in? Libra asks, can I adjust enough to make this work? And until those questions are answered, neither of them feel safe. So the core difference, Scorpio and Libra both appear feminine externally, but underneath, Scorpio is internally hardened, high load, morally, pressure storing. Libra is externally adaptive, low load morally, and pressure moving. So when pressure hits, Scorpio contracts, protects, and enforces. Libra expands, adjusts, and negotiates. That alone can set up conflicts. All right, so how many more pages do I have? What am I at? An hour and a half? I think this video, like, hopefully you're enjoying this, but this is really definitely for myself as well. Like, just seeing the visuals and then hearing the lecture is so freaking awesome. All right, so where was I wanting to go? Okay, so now I'm going to be talking about the inferiors a little bit more. All right, so Scorpio's inner feminine. Let me go back to my own key card so I can always cross-reference information. Okay, so Scorpio's inner feminine with SI and moon, stored emotional reality. All right, so I'm just going to keep fleshing this out a little bit more. If you fell off, I get it. All right, so inner feminine with SI and all right, where was I? No, Scorpio, SI, and Moon, stored emotional reality. So Scorpio's inner feminine is not passive. It is memory fused with emotion. This is not, I feel something right now. This is, I remember what happened and I still feel it. So their grudges, they hold grudges for an absolute lifetime. And they are notorious for getting revenge years later because they never forget. So SI records sensory experience and the moon saturates it with emotional meaning. So Scorpio doesn't just experience events, they imprint them into the nervous system. This creates long-term emotional memory, pattern recognition based on pain and safety, deep trust, sensitivity, and subconscious threat tracking. When something feels off in the present, Scorpio is not reacting just to now. They are reacting to every similar experience that has ever happened. So, what this does underneath, Scorpio enters relationships already holding stored emotional data about danger, betrayal, and truth. So, their system is always asking, is this safe or is this the beginning of something I've seen before? So Libra, SI inferior, and Sun and Fall, lack of internal continuity. So Libra's inner feminine. So Libra's inner feminine is not overloaded. It's underdeveloped. Instead of stored emotional certainty, Libra has unstable internal referencing. SI inferior struggles to track consistency across time, and the sun and fall means identity is not anchored internally. So Libra's experience is I don't fully trust my internal baseline. I understand things more when I'm interacting. I don't know who I am outside of the dynamic. What this does underneath. Where Scorpio says, I remember, so I protect. Libra says, I don't fully know, so I adjust. So, core collision with inner feminine. Scorpio, grounded in emotional memory, trusts internal signals deeply. Libra lacks internal grounding, relies on external feedback. So, when tension happens, Scorpio becomes more certain, Libra becomes less certain. That alone destabilizes the interaction. All right, so now outer masculine. So outer feminine, inner masculine blend. So Scorpio, TE, Venus, and Earth. Scorched Earth. This is their absolute scorched Earth. So this is not casual behavior. This is enforced reality through consequence. TE child is not polished authority, it is reactive enforcement. Child function literally means childish and naive. It says, if this is wrong, I will correct it in reality. Now add Venus, value, attachment, relational importance, and Earth, material consequences, and real world action. So when Scorpio feels this is not aligned, this is unsafe, this is false, they don't just talk. They withdraw access, cut connection, expose truth, enforce consequences, and burn the bridge if necessary. So, why this feels so scorched earth? Because this quadrant is not trying to preserve the relationship. It is trying to preserve truth and their truth and safety, even if that destroys the relationship. So, what's underneath? This harshness is not random. It is coming from SI and moon sensitivity. So the pattern is number 1, feel something deeply inner feminine. 2, detect threat or misalignment. 3, enforce reality externally with outer masculine. So what looks like aggression is actually protection of deeply stored emotional truth. Libra with FE, child, and Mars, soft power, masculine expression. So Libra's Mars does not enforce reality. It activates interaction. So instead of this is wrong, I will end it like Scorpio, Libra says this feels off, so let's adjust it. What this actually does, Fe reads emotional tone, Mars pushes movement. So Libra engages, responds, shifts tone, tries to rebalance, and keeps the interaction alive even under tension. So why it doesn't feel as harsh? Because Libra is not enforcing truth. They are trying to maintain connection, even when something is off. What's underneath? This is not strength in the same way Scorpio has it. This is relational activation without internal anchoring. So Libra may push emotionally, react quickly, engage intensely, but they don't fully sever or enforce. The real relationship conflict. Scorpio experiences Libra as inconsistent, ungrounded, too adaptive, and avoiding truth. Because Libra keeps adjusting instead of defining. Libra experiences Scorpio as intense, rigid, overwhelming, and too much. Because Scorpio moves to enforce instead of adjust. So Libra adjusts to maintain balance. Scorpio senses inconsistency with SI and moon triggers. Scorpio enforces truth with TE and Venus and Earth TE, Venus and Earth or scorched earth. Libra destabilizes identity not anchored. Libra adjusts even more. Scorpio trusts them even less, or whoever they're dealing with. So, why Scorpio feels harsher? Because Scorpio is protecting something internal and fixed, while Libra is moving within something external and fluid. So, Scorpio will end the interaction to protect truth. Libra will continue the interaction to restore balance. So, Scorpio says if this is not real, it cannot continue. Libra says if this breaks, it must be repaired. Scorpio protects truth even if it destroys connection. Libra protects connection even if it destabilizes truth. Alrighty, I am capping this video. I should have made that its own video, but you know what? It totally helps in understanding how the inner and outer masculine and feminine work together. Um, these two personalities really fascinate me the most, I think, when it comes to the masculine and feminine inside of their own personality, archetype, whatever you want to call it. Um, I think Pisces is definitely up there as well. Capricorn is certainly another one that is took me the longest to understand. But anyways, I'm going to keep making these types of videos. I definitely am trying to stay hardcore on finishing my foundational series here. So this is this ending of this video was where I'm taking this entire channel. So I haven't done this with any other videos yet. I'm doing this with you guys because you understand. I feel like you guys understand. You're abstract, intellectual enough, yet also relational and everything else. I think you guys really understand this stuff, so I appreciate you more than words can ever express. I suck at expressing, so I'm working on it, truly working on it. Anyways, I love y'all. Thank you for sticking around and liking and subscribing. I seem to get higher retention with Libras, and I appreciate you bottom of my whole heart and soul. So, anyways, hopefully you're just as excited as I am. I am like working on a 700-page book with this series. And then I will get into more of the relational dynamics like I did in this video. I think that will probably pick up more retention and traction on this channel. To me, it's kind of clickbaity. Everyone's doing it. I've started this 10 years ago, breaking down each tiny little section. I just keep circling around and around and around, and it's just never ending. It really is never ending. The more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. So all right, y'all, take care, and I will see you in the next video.